Well, good evening and welcome to your most authoritative evening political show in the country, Hot News. We are coming to you from our studios in Abelinque 48 Swanika Street here in Accra. We're live on Facebook at Pan-African Television. We're also live on YouTube at Pan-African Television. You can join in the conversation by sending in your views, comments, and contributions on a WhatsApp text line displayed on the screen. Those of you watching us on Facebook, you can as well share the Facebook Live for other people to also get an opportunity to watch tonight's edition of the program. My name is Justice Appiah. Tonight on Hot News, we are looking at the approval of allowances for presidential spouses by Parliament. The Minister of Information, Kojo Nkrumah, has spoken on that. Also, the youth wing of the National Democratic Congress has challenged that. They are kicking against the decision by Parliament to, of course, approve allowances for, is it allowances or salaries for presidential spouses or spouses of the president. And of course, I'll be reading to you what the Information Minister, Kojo Nkrumah, has been saying on that matter. I also read to you what the National Democratic Congress's youth wing has also been saying. But briefly, let me take you through what the Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah has said. It says the President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo does not approve salaries and benefits for the executive and, by extension, the First Lady and wife of the Vice President. The Minister of Information, Mr. Kojo Nkrumah, has said he has therefore described as misleading information making the rounds that President Akufo-Addo had given approval for Mrs. Rebecca Akufo-Addo and Mrs. Samira Bawumia to receive same salaries as cabinet ministers, while confirming that there had been an increment in allowances for the spouses of the President and the Vice President. Mr. Nkrumah emphasized that that was an approval given by the 7th Parliament. Quote, the President does not approve salaries and benefits for the executive. Under Article 71, the First Lady and Second Lady are not office holders, so no one can determine their benefits under that article. However, a committee only recommended that an arrangement for the spouses be made formal, and that received approval from Parliament, he indicated. Mr. Nkrumah explained that an arrangement that was introduced by former President John Ejikun Kufuor during the start of his presidency in 2000 had seen spouses of presidents and vice presidents since then enjoyed allowances, though there was no formal documentation to support that. The allowances given the two ladies of the executive were considered as part of the privileges of the president and the vice president. Quote, President Kufuor, in his wisdom, instituted this because of the bad situations of some spouses of some former heads of states then. President Mills and Mahama even increased the rates of these benefits during their time. Quote, the truth of the matter is that all surviving spouses of heads of state, current and former, have always received salaries. Lordina Mahama, Nadu Mills, Matilda Emisa Arthur, Nana Konedwa Juman Rawlings, Faustina Champon, Fulera Liman, etc. have all been receiving salaries since President Kufuor's time. What has happened now is that the arrangement has been made formal, but that was done legally based on the recommendation by the Emoluments Committee. The Information Minister emphasized. Mr. Nkrumah further said that the Emoluments Committee, set up in 2019 and chaired by Professor Yaa Ntiamwa Bidu, as part of its recommendations, proposed that the allowances given to the spouses of the President and Vice President be formally included in the review of the entitlements for the executive. That recommendation was then forwarded to the 7th Parliament, which then gave the approval, and it is now to be implemented. It is therefore not true, as it is being circulated that the President has approved of emoluments to the First Lady and the Second Lady. He stressed. It goes on and on and on and on, and that is coming from the Information Minister, Kojo Ponkruma. I've been joined in the studio by Edem Agbana, who is a deputy national youth organizer of the biggest opposition party in the country, National Democratic Congress, NDC. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on Hot News.
Thank you. Justice, it's always good to have you.
Sure. Isn't it right?
Interview me, yeah.
Very well. What are your issues? The youth wing of the National Democratic Congress. These are allowances that are paid to these persons, and of which previous first ladies and second ladies have received, and all of that. What are your issues? Why are you kicking against it? Why are you challenging this initiative?
Well, Justice, good evening to you, your team, and to our cherished viewers across the world. Let me use the opportunity to first and foremost thank the good people of Ghana, especially those who participated in our demonstration yesterday. You saw the numbers, very impressive, and we are really grateful to them.
People have also circulated on social media that it was only the executives or your party that attended.
I think that is subjective. For us, General Mosquito is always of the view that even an individual can demonstrate and cause a change of government. So when we set out to do this, we are not even really looking at very huge numbers, considering the times that we find ourselves in, panic around COVID and how the police brutalities, the military, we cannot trust them with the safety, the lives of demonstrators and all of that. But we went and we proceeded with the demonstration, got very impressive numbers, and you saw some of the videos, highly impressive on a working day like yesterday, and looking at the fact that, I mean, we can't trust this government with managing crowd and all of that. People still came out. It means that people are ready to sacrifice their lives for this country. So for me, it was highly impressive. You asked a very important question about what our issues are with this decision by President Akufo-Addo and his government to start paying salaries to wives of the president and the vice president
and his government, according to the information minister, it did not start under
I will explain.
It was an initiative by former President John
I will explain, and I can tell you for a fact that, you see, Justice, when we come on your show, spending time to engage on these issues, for some of us, we are not doing it only because we occupy positions in our political parties and we want to be heard.
Very well.
But we believe that we must have a very compelling conversation that will go a long way, to make this country a better place and get our leaders to act in ways that are very responsible.
Very well.
To be very fair to the facts, even before President Kufuor came, there was some arrangement of a sort in place to support wives of former heads of states.
Very well.
The reason was that we got to a point where we realized as a country, at least from the information I know, from people who played a key role in President Rawlings' administration, that some of these women, spouses, lost their partners through the revolution and some other excesses that came with change of government. And so many of them were going through some very challenging times. So there was an arrangement of a sort to pacify, to compensate and support these women. And if you look at our constitution and you see the role that these women play, though not officially recognized by the constitution, every first lady or second lady we have had in this country has played some role. And so, to be fair to the fact, this arrangement even started before President Kufuor.
Right.
So, an attempt to pay or give some compensation of a sort to first ladies is not really a new thing, and I must say that there is nothing wrong with it, with the philosophy or the reason behind it.
Okay.
However, our bone of contention and why we are against this is that, Justice, they are tying these emoluments to Article 71 office holders. Now, the Constitution is clear. And so, this attempt by President Akufo-Addo to pay his wife, Madam Rebecca Akufo-Addo, and to pay the wife of Dr. Bawumia, Hajiya Samira Bawumia, is unconstitutional. It is a breach of the Constitution, and all progressive forces must rise up against it. Now, let's go into the fact of the issue.
Okay.
It is done always that before the end of every government's tenure, they usually set up an emoluments committee to review emoluments paid to Article 71 office holders. So we have had quite a number of them in the past. We've had the Chineheze committee. We've had many others.
Okay.
Under President Mahama, there was some committee. I think it was led by one Boendu or something. So there was a Boendu committee or all of that.
Right.
So we've had these things, and so they always come up with recommendations to review these emoluments that are paid to Article 71 office holders. So there is nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
But in this particular case, when President Akufo-Addo set up the Professor Intiamwa, I believe that is her name if I pronounce it right, committee, and they made the recommendations. When the report came to Parliament, members of the 7th Parliament minority, then it is not this current Parliament. Let's set that record straight. At the time, the NDC had 106 members of Parliament.
Very well.
And the NPP had 169 members of Parliament. Clear majority. So it was under the leadership of Professor Aaron Mike Okwe as Speaker of the House that this committee's report was considered. And in fact, when they brought this thing to the committee, when they brought it to the plenary for discussions, members of the minority, and I recall, and I can confirm, that the Honorable Member of Parliament for Asawasi, who happened to be the minority chief whip, the Honorable Muntaka, raised issues with this particular aspect of the report and said that it was unconstitutional for you to tie the salaries or some compensation of first ladies and second ladies to Article 71 office holders. When the Constitution of Ghana, the 1992 Constitution, clearly defines who Article 71 office holders are.
But Adam, with these explanations have been given, this is what the Information Minister has said, that these allowances are paid to their spouses as part of the benefits of their husbands and all of that. Now the question is that
cannot be accurate.
Those things were done without any documentation. It is right about time Parliament thinks that they have to document it, and it is only under Article 71 that could be captured. Is that a bad thing?
So I was giving you a chronicle of events that has brought us to this discussion. So when Honorable Muntaka raised issues against it, the issue was put to voice vote.
Okay.
And then because we had only 106 members of Parliament who were conscious about protecting the public purse, they lost the vote because the NPP had the majority.
Exactly.
Now, at the time, this was only a recommendation of the committee. Just a recommendation. And we've had several instances where recommendations from committees or reports from committees goes to the president for approval, and they strike out part of the recommendations. And today we can make a clear example with the Emil Short Commission's report. When they made their recommendations to President Akufo-Addo, he decided to choose and pick. He selected the part that he thought favored him, and he decided to ignore rubbish, totally reject the rest. So it is not as if...
What did the rest say?
No, I don't want to spend too much time on the rest. For example, calling for prosecution of the members of the national security team that misbehaved and brutally assaulted innocent Ghanaians. The part that actually talks about the dissolution of the national security structure and for it to be relooked at and all of that. So the parts that actually indicted President Akufo-Addo and his government, he decided to rubbish those ones and accepted only portions of it. Now back to the point on this emolument. The point is that the minority at the time opposed it. And I have mentioned names. Let every journalist and everyone who thinks that both the NDC MPs and the MPP MPs agreed to this. Go into the parliamentary Hansards and you will see the records to support the fact that the NDC was against this. But this was considered almost just a few days before the general elections. Now, this thing has gone to the president.
Right.
All we are saying is that it is unconstitutional, because where do you fit a parliamentary approval? Even a parliamentary approval is not an amendment of the constitution. Now you are saying that you are going to pay these people in accordance or with the same benefits that cabinet ministers have been paid, and we are asking that where is the constitutionality of that report?
Right.
You see, we are not saying that our first ladies or second ladies should not be recognized and all of that. No, that is not the point that we are making. The point is that this attempt to pay Samira and Rebecca Akufo-Addo with the taxpayers' money at the time the economy is shrinking, at the time Ghanaians have been asked to tighten their belts, is unconstitutional, and so it's an affront to our democracy. Again, it shows that President Akufo-Addo and his government are only interested in enriching themselves.
Let me read a paragraph here for you.
You can read.
The allowances given to the two ladies of the executive were considered as part of the privileges of the president and the vice president. Now, the president and the vice president are captured under Article 71. If these allowances, the salaries that are going to be given to their spouses, are as part of the privileges that the president and the vice are enjoying, where else do you expect Parliament to capture, these allowances that are paid to, these two ladies? Because, look, Parliament would have to approve it. As part of the recommendations, they have recommended that the allowances paid to these people be documented. And now they are making it legal.
The point must be made. Now, when you read our constitution clearly, Article 71, which happens to be an entrenched position or article in our provisions, is an entrenched provision in our constitution, makes reference or take recognition of the officers and not individuals.
Okay.
So it is not about Justice Hiabua. It is about the office or the position that he occupies as the president or vice president. You understand? So if they will recognize your office, you are paid salary, regular reviews are made, you have your benefits, you have your privileges that are accrued to you. It is your decision and your discretion to decide how you spend that salary. We cannot, as a state, go further by saying that because we recognize you as president and the constitution and Article 71 recognizes you as an Article 71 office holder, it means that your wife or your spouse must also be recognized as same. It is clearly different. You can't bring in another individual, because when you start this way, then in other words, when you start this way, the next time that the next conversation we are going to have is that in the future, another president can come and make the decision that if you were able to extend it, my privileges to my wife, it means that extend it to my children, extend it to my in-laws. And before we realize,
in other words,
the entire family of them.
In other words, you're calling for these allowances paid to the spouses of the president and the vice president to be scrapped, because if we cannot capture it under any of our laws, because these persons are not Article 71 office holders, and they are not office holders.
Yes, so they are not. They are not.
I want your calls to come clear. Are you calling
our
for it
call?
To be scrapped?
Our call is that. Our call is that it is unconstitutional and must be clearly taken out of this emoluments, whatever that they intend to do.
But if we have to document it, where should we place it? I want to understand.
So if the president or the government is interested in a conversation on how to compensate spouses of the president and vice president, that is a matter that we can take up as a nation and decide what we do for them. They can make a recommendation and Parliament will consider it maybe as a new provision or as a new law, a new legislation. But to try and alterate the constitutional provisions and forcefully put in spouses of the president and the vice president into positions that they are not recognized. You know, when you read the Constitution, Article 71 clearly defines the offices. So they say the president didn't make mention of the Mr. A or Mr. B. Says that the offices that are under Article 71,
but the
members of parliament. But now,
Mm.
if it is the case, let's assume that this WAC argument that it is a privilege or an extension of privileges granted to the president or the vice president.
Exactly.
Let's assume that this WAC logic from the government spokespersons is to be accepted. Tomorrow, members of parliament should also say that we are Article 71 office holders. Pay our wives. Some will come and tell you that we have 2 or 3 wives. From the members of parliament, you now go to the judiciary. There are Article 71 office holders there. They will also start demanding that pay our spouses and all of that. Where are we getting to as a country? That is one of the reasons why the people of Ghana have lost so much confidence in political leadership, is because day in, day out, they hear how political class, especially since 2017, have tried their best to use the law and allocate for themselves taxes and monies that they do not deserve.
I'm struggling to understand the youth wing of the NDC. Are your problems the constitutionality of these allowances that are paid?
We have a number of problems with it. I can take you through.
If that forms part of your reasons, then once again the information minister is saying that these allowances are paid long ago, not today. It didn't start from today. Why didn't you raise concerns?
And you see, I gave you a historical antecedent,
right,
to when that particular arrangement was made for some. So, for example, let's take a look at the late President Mills and I mean his widow, Nadu Mills,
right,
our mother. Let's consider, okay, your president died in the line of duty. Your husband died in the line of duty as president. His benefits, you know, even as we speak, former presidents, until they die, the houses that have been allocated to them and all of that, the Constitution did not say that when the person dies, those properties should be transferred to their spouses and all of that. So it is reasonable to consider some kind of welfare system for spouses of president and vice president and all of that. But I'm saying that was just an informal arrangement. If you are seeking to formalize an arrangement, well, so because it was an informal arrangement, like Honorable Oponkrumah said, have you ever seen where any of them can go to court and demand that pay me this allowance, pay me this, or this allowance is not coming, this thing is not coming? Have you ever heard any of them?
Not at all.
Because Justice, if I have an arrangement, okay, which say your producers, that anytime I appear on your show and I'm done, I will spend 10 minutes with them for us to have a conversation on football. Let's just say that. And so I do it informally, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. The 5th time I'm unable to do it, they cannot hold me to account, responsible. No law makes it mandatory for me to do so. But if we begin to formalize that arrangement and tie it unconstitutionally to Article 71 and makes it a constitutional mandate, okay, mandatory, that we can start demanding for these things, that means that it becomes a cost to the states. The point is that, like I said, these things, it's just like funerals and all of that. There's nowhere in the Constitution where it will be stated that.
So if I get you well,
yes,
on this particular reason, the office of the first and second lady are not captured.
They are not captured under Article 71. So they are not recognized. So they are not entitled to this,
allowances that they are paid. Okay,
exactly. So you are not. You see, the office
is illegal.
It is illegal, completely illegal, because these offices. You see, we can all open Article 71 of the Constitution, and that is, I will read out all the positions or all the office holders that are considered part of the Article 71. You get it? Part of the Article 71.
Right.
Now, it states Article 71. Let me read out Article 71, 1 and 2 of the 1992 Constitution. Okay, stipulates that the determination of the salaries and allowance of the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary paid from the consolidated fund would be determined by the president on the recommendations of a committee of not more than 5 persons appointed by him and acting upon the advice of the Council of State.
Right.
So that is what the Constitution provides. Now, who are the Article 71 office holders?
Very well.
They I just want to be specific with them. So it includes the president,
right,
the vice president,
right,
the speaker of parliament,
very well,
the chief justice, and justices of the Supreme Court. The rest are members of parliament, ministers of state, political appointees, and public servants with salaries charged to the consolidated fund, but enjoying special constitutional provisions. Justice, where in this constitution did it mention that the office of first lady, second lady, and all of that should be and the point is that, you see, the danger that we are warning is that if today you keep quiet and you think that it is just 2 individuals in question, Rebecca Akufo-Addo and Samira, a president may come one day that will decide that all these justices of the Supreme Court, let us start considering your spouses. 275 members of parliament, and I even hear they have intentions of creating new constituencies. So if we become maybe 300 members of parliament, all of you with your spouses, right, will be considered, because you are all Article 71 office holders, and you cannot effect changes to your privileges only to the president and vice without considering that of the other Article 71 office holders. That is why anytime they are setting up the committee, they say that the committee has been set up to review emoluments for Article 71 office holders.
So it means that
it is completely illegal. So for President Akufo-Addo, what is even more disappointing is the fact that he is a lawyer, or we are told he is a lawyer.
So in other words,
for him to, yes,
if this should be done, we need to have a whole conversation on this and amend the Constitution to include the office of the First Lady and the Second Lady under, you know, this article.
I would even say that there is no need to include office of first or second ladies in, because those offices are not recognized. They are not even recognized. Even if, unless we are saying that we want those offices to be recognized. My point is that, isn't it? Even if they all play, let's be fair. They all play some roles. Right. I saw what people like Nana Akufo-Addo and Rollins did when they were first ladies. Very well. I saw what Nadu Mills did. I saw what my own mother, the Dr. Lodina Mahama did. Right. Yeah. Fantastic job as first lady. Okay. But despite all of these things, their offices are not officially recognized as Article 71. Right. My point is that even before this emolument or this report was made public, some of us have been advocating for a review of some of the privileges that Article 71 office holders enjoy. How possible that instead of responding to our call by being more prudent, you are rather swelling up the numbers by including offices that are not recognized, and you make a weak argument that it is an extension of the privileges to their spouses. It cannot be right that if you are president being taken care of by the states, and especially when we have a president who is in love, obsessed with luxury and fantasies, can fly 15,000 pounds private jets and have fun because he wants to bath in the sky. Such a president cannot properly compensate or take care of his partner. We have to be charging that on the consolidated fund. It cannot be so. We must not allow that to happen. You have admitted on this platform that we cannot take out the fact that these first ladies or these spouses of our presidents have done so well. They have embarked on some, you know, very important, you know, ventures to benefit the state. What is wrong? Justice, they are given allowances. Justice, wives or partners of members of parliament do so well in their constituencies. What do they do? They do so well. I know how some of the wives, I have worked with MPs, right, whose wives go do all this charity work, the same things on a smaller note that the vice president or the president's wife does. Should we make the argument that because they do so well, journalists do so well for this country, should we say because they do so well, Article 71 should recognize them? What would be the limitation? You see, so the point is that yes, they do so well. I have admitted, and I will continue to admit. I saw what Nana Akufo-Addo did as First Lady, fantastic work. Lordina Mahama, Nadu Mills.
Rebecca Akufo-Addo is doing so well.
Rebecca Akufo-Addo, they say she's doing so well. I mean, she's enjoying a lot of support from GNPC and all of that, getting all sort of money allocated to her so she can afford to do well. But I mean, she's also trying, doing her little bit. With all the money resources allocated to her, she's doing too little. But let's assume that she's also doing well. Now, on that assumption that even Rebecca Akufo-Addo and Samira are doing well, the point is that it is not enough reason to warrant their inclusion in the list of Article 71 office holders. Now, the point must be made that because it is an entrenched position, there are procedures that one ought to follow if you want to review the list of Article 71 office holders. There are procedures. You do not pass through any of these procedures. You are using the back door and tell us that Parliament approved it. Let's assume, Kojo Nkrumah, I'm told, is a lawyer. Let's assume that indeed, let's assume that indeed, because Parliament gave it approval at the time, it was legit. But you know what? What we know is that if you read Article 71, Clause 1 and 2 of the 1992 Constitution, it states that the President, acting upon recommendation of a committee of no less than 5 persons.
But there was a committee.
So there was a committee. Now listen.
The committee
now
makes recommendations.
The committee's recommendation is not legally binding on the President. So recommendation is just more or less, let's bring it literally, like an advice. That Justice, I think that for you to have a nice show, start at 9:07 instead of 9:10. It's a recommendation. You can choose to accept or not to accept. So this discussion we are having now, take Parliament out. Let's even assume that all the members of Parliament supported it, which I know is not true because the NDC rejected it, the NDC opposed it, but we lost it at voice count. And it happened in the previous Parliament, not this current Parliament. Now, President Akufo-Addo, as President, saw these recommendations, looking at our public purse, looking at how Ghanaians are struggling to make 3 square meals a day, looking at how industries are struggling to survive, looking at how Ghanaian youth are in search of jobs that they cannot even find. Ignored all this economic hardship. Even ignored the fact that he told us earlier in the year to tighten our belt and not to expect salary increment, and decided to write to the finance ministry to make it legal or to make it effective by making this payment. It means that the blame is solely on President Akufo-Addo.
Is the youth wing of the National Democratic Congress not rising up against this because it's not under your regime? Because as far as I'm concerned,
I can tell you that
it is not only Samira Bawumia and Mrs. Rebecca Akufo-Addo who would benefit from this. Other first and second ladies that will come are likely to, of which the National Democratic Congress will benefit.
It doesn't even matter whether after Akufo-Addo, because I know we are coming back to power in 2025, but it doesn't even matter who is going to benefit. We are opposing this on principle. On the principle that...
Would you oppose this if...
Yes, we would have opposed this. And you see, the beautiful thing is that no NDC government, no NDC president. President Mahama was vice president for 4 years, was president for 4 years. We've had NDC executives, NDC presidents. Why didn't any of them consider this under Article 71? Because no NDC president would go on this tangent. The point is that this is solely a decision of President Akufo-Addo, because he looked at the report. This is the president who has a track record. You see,
Akufo-Addo do not approve.
No, but that's what the Constitution says. No, the Constitution says that. The Constitution says that the president sets up a committee. The committee makes recommendations. And the president is not bounded. You see, the president is not tied constitutionally to accept any recommendations from any committee. That is why even when the Emil Short Commission report came out, he decided to reject portions of it. So the point is that President Akufo-Addo has the power to have stopped this payment of salaries to his wife and his vice president's wife. But because it is of benefit to him, he decided to let it go. And that is most insensitive. When we are saying that we will proceed to court, we'll make sure we exhaust.
Before we come to your decision of proceeding to court, let me read a statement from your outfit. You are the Deputy National Youth Organizer, of your party, and this is coming from the youth wing, so it means that you have a fair idea of what I'm about to read. For immediate release, and you have NDC youth wing with the NDC's umbrella on top of it. Let me give a better description of what the NDC is trying to do. NDC youth wing to challenge approval of salaries for Mrs. Rebecca Akufo-Addo and Mrs. Samira Bawumia at the Supreme Court and embark on no salary uprising. Wow. Well, the youth wing of the National Democratic Congress has become aware of news item attributed to Information Minister Honorable Kojo Ponkruma that Parliament has approved recommendation of the Professor Ya Ntiamwa-Bedu-led Committee on Emoluments for Article 71 office holders, for which spouses of President Akufo-Addo and Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia will receive same monthly salaries as cabinet ministers. It is surprising that at the time President Akufo-Addo has admonished all Ghanaians to make sacrifices and has imposed nuisance taxes coupled with draconian economic policies under the guise of economic recovery due to COVID-19, he gave clean bill of health for Parliament to approve a report of a committee he constituted to impose further financial burden on the consolidated fund. The terms of reference of the Prof. Ya Ntiamwa-Bedu Committee gave out the President as chief architect of the decision to pay his wife, Mrs. Rebecca Akufo-Addo, and wife of Vice President Mrs. Samira Bawumia. For want of better expression, the decision to further drain the consolidated fund with needless expenditure is a pet project of President Akufo-Addo. It is instructive to point out that we find the attempt to institutionalize the payment of salaries to the spouses of the President and the Vice President as an attack on the Constitution of the country. The provisions of Article 71 of the 1992 Constitution is elaborate and unambiguous by listing the public officials bound to draw their salaries from the consolidated fund. Indeed, the Constitution never clothed the Emolument Committee any power to introduce any category of persons to benefit from the consolidated fund without due regard to Article 108. It is our considered view that the committee erred in making such recommendation. The bully approval process by the MPP majority in the last Parliament and subsequent of President Akufo-Addo of the recommendation is an unjustifiable assault on the Constitution, which must not go unchallenged. In line with this, the youth wing will in the coming days invoke the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to declare this cancerous and insensitive act unconstitutional. By this circular, we announce the hashtag no salary uprising across the nation by the young people of this country until this obnoxious development is reversed. Youth power under my hand. George Appiah Esquire, National Youth Organizer of the Great National Democratic Congress. Now, Adam,
yes,
hashtag no salary uprising.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
No, because Justice, you see, we consider, let's consider the privileges that Article 71 office holders, especially the President and the Vice, already enjoy. They pay no utility bills, they are provided with accommodation, all sorts of allowances, including wardrobe allowance, entertainment allowance, and all of that provided. And juxtapose that to the life of the ordinary Ghanaian worker, teachers, doctors, nurses, some of whom are living virtually hand to mouth because their salaries are not enough. Their already bad situation was worsened by COVID and the mismanagement of the economy by President Akufo-Addo. Then you turn around, ask us to tighten our belt, then you are finding ways of introducing your wives into the basket of beneficiaries, and so you are virtually putting them in the Article 71 list, even when the Constitution does not provide for that. And people like Honorable Joyce Bauer, lawyer, they even suggested that the list is exhaustive. Article 71 office holders. I just read it out to you.
Right.
It's exhaustive. We are even of the view that it's too much. Some of us have been advocating for a review of that list for so long now. And instead of reviewing it down, even if you will not review it down, leave it as how it is before you came to meet it. Then you are trying to bring in your wives. It is basically illegal. It's an attempt to make the lives of the political class, the president and his wife.
How do you want spouses of presidents and vice presidents to be rewarded?
Let me ask you this question. You know, for example, Rebecca Akufo-Addo and Samira Bawumia, we have been hearing about donations, cash donations that they've been making. Sometimes you hear of somebody sick in the hospital and they say the vice president's wife or president's wife is making a donation of sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. You think that they really need to survive on the already burdened taxpayers, our meager income by taking more salaries?
Those monies are used for the purposes of which
you mean that justice, members of parliament, justice, teachers, when they are paid salaries, we don't consider their spouses, because we believe that these teachers, these police officers, some of them stand under the sun whole day directing traffic, sweating, and they have spouses at home, they have children at home. Their salaries is not even up to 1 or 2% of some of the allowances that these office holders are getting. And for them, you leave them and you want to improve the life of the already wealthy, the already rich, already catered for second lady and first lady. I think that is completely unnecessary. They should have bought this plan, and we have served notice that we will go to court and invoke the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, because per the constitutional provisions that we have, this is illegal. But even take the illegality out of it. Let's even ignore the argument about its legality, and come back to the argument of reasonability or logic. Is it reasonable that President Akufo-Addo wants to pay his wife and pay the wife of the vice president? Is it reasonable? Is there a need for it? Needless attempt to steal more, loot, create, and share. That is what is happening at the presidency. So we are of the view that they must abort this plan and allow the first lady and the second lady to be without these salaries. Not necessary. We will not allow them to use the taxpayers' money, to take money from the consolidated fund to be paying them these salaries. They are not qualified to be there. Their offices are not recognized. If anything, if any review to the list ought to be done, it must be to review the list downwards. Because justice, let me tell you what the other privileges of Article 71 office holders are.
Right.
You have heard about ex gratia.
Very well.
People finish 7. When the poor teacher, you see, I always want to make the point for the poor teacher, for the poor policeman, for the poor office soldier, for the poor public sector worker who would work all their life, 20, 30 years, and sometimes they go home and look at even our social security system. Many of them, their social security after they retire cannot even take care of them. They struggle. They die. Most of them die in misery because our social security is not enough to provide for them when they are aged.
Very well.
All these people are there. These are the people we should be discussing salary increment of, not the already overprotected, overfed, overcatered for first lady or second lady. They do not need it. So even in the argument of reasonability, these things is not reasonable. And so we are asking President Akufo-Addo that I am sure that President Akufo-Addo has gotten to a point, you know, even in economics, we say something that diminishing returns. President Akufo-Addo has gotten to a point where maybe he's just not aware about the sufferings of Ghanaians. Because this is a man that prior to 2016, kept drumming home the point that he was coming to protect the public purse. I'll protect public purse. Every platform, I'll protect public purse. I'll do this. But you have been given the opportunity as president, and what do we see? Wanton, profligate expenditure. As we speak, wasteful expenditure. This is a president that will leave a properly functioning presidential jet and will decide to use taxpayers' money to go on a jolly ride, paying £15,000 per hour.
Right.
This is a president that, after all of these things that the state provides for him and his family, all the protection, still want to allocate salaries to his wife. What is even more annoying is that they want to pay it with is it retroactively? They want to pay from
2017.
From 2017. So if the salary is say 20,000, they are not going to start paying.
They are back paying.
They are back paying.
Exactly.
That's the right word. So they will back pay them. And when you calculate, Akufo-Addo alone is getting over 1 million. 1 million.
That's just about her salaries. You know,
and the other allowances, the other benefits are all there.
Yes.
These are people that the state is already catering for. They do not need that salary. So we are saying that President Akufo-Addo must be sensitive. Look at how young people are struggling.
Let me involve our viewers briefly. You can keep your messages coming in on 0544 235984. 0544 235984. Keep your messages coming in on 0544 235984. That's our WhatsApp line. 0544 235984. Those of you watching us on Facebook can share the Facebook Live. Please share and share for other people to also watch tonight's edition. I think that the National Democratic Congress, especially the youth wing, is not giving government any chance whatsoever. MPP as a party is not serious and will never be serious. At this critical time of the country, you still behave like all is well. Never again, MPP. By Paramak in Tamale. Thank you so much for your message. This one says, good morning, my brother Justice. Justice, criminals have hijacked our country. We must rise and rescue this country. These guys are so terribly insensitive. These are worse than fraudsters. Adam, we must call teachers, nurses, and all other well-meaning Ghanaians. We must rise up. Jejom in Taifa sent in that one. Jejom, thank you so much. This one says, hello, boss. Hello, boss, to you too. This one says, good evening. Good evening. Good evening, Justice. I'm very sad about what is happening in this country. I'm a teacher. Justice, we have many NAFCO personnel at where I'm teaching. They haven't been paid for 3 months. Most of them are starving and begging for food. So sad. And the president is thinking about paying the wife. Time will tell. From Abrokwa, Achim Apidra, Ebuakwa South constituency. Thank you so much, my brother, for your message. My Apidra people, how are you doing? Ghana Montie, government says it has accepted the recommendation. It has accepted the recommendation by Article 71 Office Holders Emoluments Committee to put spouses of President Akufo-Addo and Bawumia on a formalized salary structure. This, it believes, will help the spouses live honorably well. Please don't call the WhatsApp line. Honorably well by going out of office. Hey, Ghana. So now we are paying huge taxes so that beautiful Rebecca, Samira, and Ramatu can each take home 21,000 as salary and 87,000 as allowance every month for making their husbands happy. God save our homeland Ghana. Good evening, Honorable Edem Agbana, National Deputy Youth Organizer, and Stanley Dogbe Abochi Philip in Kita constituency sent in that one. Abochi, thank you so much for your message. This one says, good evening. This is Nahu from Wale in Upper West region. I will thank my boss this evening. Nana and his administration should know that Ghanaians are suffering in this country. Thank you so much for your message. A lot of messages coming in anyway. This one says, good evening. Please let the president pay my wife too, because as for me, I pay taxes too. Kwame from Adanse. Esukwa. Thank you so much, Kwame. This one says, tell Agbana how much did he need to fight this fight? You are doing absolutely well. This allowance for president's wife, dear, they should come again. With a chop some more. I need your number, Adam. This is Stephen from La. Stephen, thank you so much for your message. This one says, my name is Blessed Nyima from Bimbila. The president must be sensitive in order to hear the cry of the youth. This one says, government says there's no money. So due to that, public workers' salaries have to be increased by 4%. But you are paying your wife a gangan sum. God save Ghana. In fact, President Adam Akufo-Addo is wicked. How can you give public sector workers 4% salary, right? And give your wife cabinet minister's salary? JB, inside Adam, my Adam people, I greet all of you. This one says, please, Mr. Host, let my boss, Kwame, take this time to explain this to Ghana. Kwame is not here. A lot of messages, please. Our president should be ashamed of himself. Hey, this is too much for Ghana. Right. Thank you so much for your message. This one says, hey, so are we serious at all? Ghana is dead. Which country is paying their president and wife? I'm Pato Jr. inside New Botiano. Thank you so much, Pato Jr., for your message. Good evening, Justice. Hello, Justice. The president is coming to kill us. Well, it's a long one. It's just like a book. I cannot read everything. This one says, the messages are coming. I mean, the president said there's no money in the system to increase public workers' salary after some negotiations with some stakeholders. The president just increased public sector workers' salary by 4%. This president is very wicked. Teachers are very disappointed voting for this government. Well, that's your own cup of tea. Good evening, I'm Ishmael. Good evening, I'm Ishmael. I think it's high time we stop fighting COVID and rather fight this incompetent and insensitive government. Wow. So you mean this government is more than COVID-19? Adam.
Oh yes, I agree with the last comment.
A lot of messages.
So I agree with the last comment. This government, you see, we were dealing with Ghana. We are dealing with two pandemics at the same time.
Right, and I know COVID. I don't know the
pandemic, which is the global pandemic, and the pandemic of President Akufo-Addo's failed leadership.
You think that that's a pandemic?
It is a pandemic because a leader that is so insensitive that when hospitals do not have beds and people are dying, all that he's thinking about is how to satisfy Rebecca Akufo-Addo more with more money, salaries. And that is why even when we all can see that in the public space, President Akufo-Addo most often is sleeping. Cameras have captured him sleeping even at public events. Rebecca Akufo-Addo came out to tell us that at night the husband doesn't sleep for the love of Ghana because Adam, at that time they discuss how to make sure they adjust Article 71 for her to benefit.
Our time is almost up. You need to wrap up properly. But let me plead with Sewa, my director, to give me 5 extra minutes for Adam to wrap up properly, so you can go ahead.
Yes. So the point I'm making before I even conclude is that Rebecca Akufo-Addo came out telling all Ghanaians that her husband has sleepless nights. Doesn't sleep at night because he's always awake working for Ghana, thinking about Ghana. Even when publicly it has manifested in several public events that we have seen the president either sleeping or dozing off and all of that. But that is not the main point. The main point is that at the time that people are crying for hospital beds, schools have no even school furniture is absent in a lot of places. At the time that Ghanaians are crying for water to drink, young people want the president to invest in industries, in building factories that can employ them. At the time that as a country we are talking about insecurity and how police officers are scared that they do not have bulletproof vests to protect us and they are being killed on duty. At the time that there are some communities, common street lights, just to reduce crime rates. We don't have all of these basic necessities of life. All that the president is thinking about is how to pay his wife and the wife of the vice president. This is how we start. Tomorrow, members of parliament will come and say, let's pay their spouses. The next day, justices of the Supreme Court will say, and all Article 71 office holders will say, why don't you apply the principle of equality? If all of us will have our spouses migrated onto the Article 71.
Okay.
Then the next year, we'll start with the children before we realize those who are being protected, paid so much, and having all sorts of benefits under Article 71, will be having their entire family roped into Article 71. Very soon, side chicks will start demanding that they also play an important role in the lives of whichever Article 71 office holder. So they must be considered. The point is that this is the height of wickedness and insensitivity on the part of the president. This is not the time you should be thinking about this thing. Think about how you can give jobs to young people. Think about how you can support hospitals to get bed and save lives. Think about how you can provide better roads like President Mahama was doing. What is the vision of President Akufo-Addo? For him, it's all luxury. How to fly and bath in the sky and allocate salaries to his wife and all of that. We cannot accept this as the leadership that we have. That is why I'm telling you that we have two pandemics that we are dealing with. COVID-19 pandemic and a more serious pandemic of President Akufo-Addo's failed leadership.
So that this government
is more serious. Let me tell you something. I've always believed, that a disease can kill a number of people. But if you want to kill the entire nation, give that nation bad leadership, and that is what we are experiencing today. If you want to kill an entire nation, you want to destroy a nation, give them a bad leader. And so we have a bad leader and he's destroying this country. If you want to destroy Ghana, give Ghana a bad leader. We have President Akufo-Addo already. It is enough pandemic that we are dealing with. It's kind of leadership.
As you're going, you have served a notice that you are going to the Supreme Court to challenge the decision by this government and also the approval by Parliament. When should we expect that?
My boss, the National Youth Organizer, is a lawyer, and we have other lawyers in the wing. He is considering all these things, and I know that at the right time, he will go to the Supreme Court to invoke it. In fact, people have asked why we are now raising issues, even though these issues started.
Because I asked. I think
the reason is that because it was just a recommendation, there will not have been a course of action. It is until the president gives it life, makes it effective, like what they are doing now. But makes it so.
Mr. Kojo Ponkroma has mentioned some names. Nadu Mills, Lordina Mahama, and the likes have all received
were they paid as cabinet ministers? Were they paid as cabinet ministers? Was it charged on the consolidated fund and all of that? Justice, if today we make allocations of say 1,000 Ghana cedis as miscellaneous, okay, to your office as host of Hot News, and you decide that the security at the gate, because he keeps, he protects the vehicles of your guests and all of that, you want to be giving him something extra, that cannot be charged on the payroll of this company.
Very well.
So there are clear differences. If in the past you've extended some philanthropic or some hand of support or compensation to former first ladies and all of that, that is clearly different from charging it on the consolidated fund and trying to smuggle them into the list of Article 71 office holders. That cannot be the case. It is only a wicked and an insensitive leader that will be considering that option at this time. And that is who President Akufo-Addo is.
Finally, I think that our time is up and we need to go. But you have hashtagged no salary uprising.
Yes.
Where no salary uprising means?
No salary for first lady, no salary for first lady, no salary for second lady. And in fact, we should even extend it to actually looking at how we can review the entire Article 71 again. Because what is happening, you see, there's a lacuna that is being exploited by President Akufo-Addo and his government. That is why Kojo Ponkroma, and I'm so disappointed. You see, I'm not trying to personalize this, but I can recall and imagine Kojo Ponkroma as host of Super Morning Show on Joy FM discussing this issue of salary for wives of the president and spouses of the president. I can just imagine Kojo Ponkroma as the host of the Super Morning Show on Joy FM and his commentary on this. Today, He's Minister for Information, so he's hopping from one station to another, trying to provide justification for this very insensitive decision. It doesn't make sense.
I don't think that
he's a member of cabinet. He should be able to let them know.
As a host, I don't think that he would have made a comment. He will only ask critical questions.
He would have
just like we have done.
Daily, there's editorial. I listen to his show. I used to be a big fan of his when he was a presenter.
Right.
He was always giving commentary and his opinion on issues. In fact, on Saturday, his Samson and Co. will be running commentary, editorial. So beyond asking questions, they always had an opinion. My point is that look at how the average Ghanaian is struggling.
Right.
How young people cannot find jobs. Some of them 6, 7, 8 years after leaving the university.
Let's get
Some have not even been to university. They are looking for work to do. The president's focus should be to provide these young people some relief. As I speak to you, NAPCO recruits are sending me messages. Some say 4 or 5 months. They've not received their allowance. But we are going to give Rebecca Akufo-Addo and Samira Baumia over 1 million each. Because we are paying them back pay and we will pay them. And when allowance, 700 Ghana cedis and NAPCO recruit. Some of them need that debt for survival. They are not
allowances will
amount to,
the allowances alone, if calculated, will amount to over 6 million. And their salaries would also amount to over 1 million.
Yes. So look at allowances and look at all of these things. And we cannot take care of our suffering masses. Look at even what is happening at Pantan. Government just protects the property for our mental patients.
Right.
There are many hospitals where even basic drugs they are not getting. And we have this insensitive leadership.
Let's get going. Are we going to see a huge demonstration? You know,
there will be more. Yesterday only opened the floodgates.
Right.
We have to step up as young people and fight. I keep telling people that where we are, it is not about NDC MPP.
Very well.
It is about making sure that the people we voted for,
5 minutes is up.
Those people are held accountable for the decisions that they make. It's sad. It saddens my heart to see leadership act this irresponsibly. It saddens my heart.
Very well.
How can a leader possibly think about paying the wife at this time when the country is struggling to even get money to do basic things?
All right.
Imagine the parents of children who died because there was no bed. Every day, no bed syndrome. Instead of President Akufo-Addo deciding to address those issues, he's only interested in paying his wife. No wonder the wife comes out to tell us that his husband doesn't sleep at night. He spends the night thinking about how to smuggle her into the Article 71 office holders list. Very, very shameful, very embarrassing, and we must not get to this point.
Our time is up. Thank you so much for coming to them. I'm so grateful. But let's be careful not to incur the wrath of the youth in this country. Very soon, we're getting there. God knows that I'm speaking the truth. The number of persons who have called me for a job as if I am a CEO in a company. The number of persons who would sometimes even call you complaining about the fact that, well, look, we need job, we're youth, and nothing is working. Paying such huge amounts of money, we need to think about it once again. We need to think about it once again. Because these offices are not even captured under Article 71. They are not part of the Article 71 office holders. Why should we then think of paying them when, of course, they enjoy all the luxury, you know, their spouses, of course, their husbands are enjoying. I mean, anyway. But, well, the conversation continues. The youth wing of the National Democratic Congress has served a notice that they are going to the Supreme Court to challenge the decision. Let's see how it pans out. This is our time will last on the program. Once again, my name is Justice Appiah, and the show has been Hot News. Make a time with us, same time tomorrow. Goodbye.